Welcome to lesson 11. In this video, we're going to go through direct marketing. Now, direct marketing is you've already got an audience, you already know where you're targeting, and now it's really just about activating that market. So activating your audience generally is on the premise that you either know the area or the people specifically that you're marketing to. That could be people in your CRM database, or it could be people that you know read a particular type of magazine. It's basically all the outbound activities, which could be creating ads, writing newsletters, sending flyers, and things like that. The purpose of direct marketing is to bring attention to things that may not have been in the attention set of that person before. So you're providing them new information, giving them new things to think about, and trying to elicit a response, try to get them to read it, try to get them to engage with it, or to pick up the phone and actually buy from you. So it's a proactive outreach to bring customers in. You're not just sitting there passively waiting for them to come. You are directly marketing to these people to generate some level of action or activity. Now, marketing to a list is the people that are in your database. Now, ideally, these are people you've collected through lead generation campaigns. Maybe you've set up a market stall and got names at a supermarket. Maybe you've handed out flyers and they've responded via email. Or perhaps you've gone and done some online marketing and generated a lead list. Now, you can buy lists, but in today's world, the spam acts and the email marketing platforms are generally just not worth it, because you're either going to damage your sender reputation or you're going to frustrate people and get a bad reputation, negative reviews, reports, and so it's just not worth it. So don't go buying lists. I think it's a really bad practice, but unfortunately I can't stop you. So the bad thing about a purchased list is that it's a cold list. It's people that you've never contacted before. At least if someone has downloaded a lead magnet, or they've contacted you, or willingly handed you their information, there's somewhat of a warm list. They know about you. They've made the conscious decision to hand over their data. And as a result, you now have permission to contact them. So direct marketing, the way that you contact these people, can be done through a number of channels. You can SMS them, you can call them, you can mail them physical things, or you can email them digital things. So that being said, even though I mention a warm list, like if someone gives you their information, that means they're not completely cold, but it doesn't mean that they're absolutely over the moon and ready to jump on and buy something with you. So you might have to do further warming to make them a hot lead. So a cold prospect is someone who's vaguely interested or not interested at all, and a hot lead is someone who's ready to pull their wallet out and actually make a purchase. So that warming process is really just about building a relationship. So whether it's warm or cold, the point is you're convincing a human to open up their wallet and hand you money. And that's not just going to happen without some form of relationship, decision-making cycle. And so you need to help them along that journey. And direct marketing helps you to do that in a scalable way. Now, obviously, the sales, when it gets a little bit more personal, they're going to want to have a conversation with you. That's not direct marketing. Now you're in a sales conversation. Direct marketing is the scaled version of pushing messages out into the marketplace. Some direct marketing methods use things like copywriting, writing engaging and interesting ads that get people to read. And you want to make it fast, skimmable, and easy to read so that people do read it, and then maybe give them an offer. Buy one, get one free, or buy 5 and get your 6th one free. Things like that generate activity. Because if you just send a piece of paper saying, come and buy from us, there's no reason for them to go and take action. They'll go, oh yeah, I probably should. Put it down on the bench and then get distracted and then do nothing with it. But if you say, buy one, get one free for this month only, well, now there's a time incentive to go and take advantage of that opportunity. And once they're in store, even if that's a offer that's making you a little bit of a loss, or even at cost, not really making you any money, then that gets them into the store when you can then start to upsell, cross-sell onto other products and services. Remember that no one is going to buy from you on the first interaction with your brand. Almost never. Unless you happen to be selling water in the middle of a desert, then there's a good chance that a thirsty person walking past is going to come and buy your product. However, in the traditional sense, you generally need to convince this person over time and build some form of an idea about your brand, your product, your service, and how it adds value to them in their life. So by providing information in a timely, consistent manner that is helpful can be very impactful. So don't go spamming. Don't go sending 5 pieces of material per day. it's just going to be too much. Unless there's some entertainment value, there's probably not a likely reason that people are going to want to read your ad on that much of a regular basis. Perhaps if it's relevant to them at that particular time and they just kind of accept it to know that, oh, I might need that one day, so I'll just keep it there, but I'm not going to really do anything with it. That's one way, just for that awareness and that sort of keeping you in the back of mind. But if you want people to actually take an action, then you need to engage with them in a meaningful way. So don't just send junk for the sake of it. And you need to solve the customer problem, not just talk about yourself. Talk about the benefits, not the features. Now, direct marketing does mean that you probably send a lot of marketing messages to people who will never buy from you. So you need to look at your average return on ad spend or return on investment for the marketing materials that you're producing. Now, if you look across a number of channels, it could be that you're printing certain things, that you're running certain ads, and maybe that you're doing email. So email costs you almost nothing. It takes the time to write the email and then to hit send, and whatever costs are associated with the email platform. When you're doing direct response in terms of printed materials, depending on what you send, if you could send a little flyer, it might cost you 1 cent per thing that's being sent out. Or if you're sending out a big bulky package, it might cost you a little bit more. Or potentially if you're sending a glossy 20-page expose on you and your business. First of all, why would someone want to read that? Second of all, if you're not delivering value, you're just costing money. So you need to be careful and maybe test with a small amount before you go big on distribution. You also want to be very targeted. You can do things such as unaddressed mail runs where you can target specific postcodes and where you can target specific types of postcode, whether it's commercial or residential, that sort of thing. But by maintaining frequency and that rate of contact, then when the time does come that that person wants to buy, then they're going to think of you. They're going to have brand awareness of you and your brand, and then make the decision to go, oh, I remember that company that was, sent me that entertaining material on a regular enough basis that wasn't too annoying. I think I'll choose them. Or at the very least, if they don't make the decision specifically to go with you, then at least you're in the decision set. So you're in the running to provide a sales quotation or something like that. When deciding on the budget on how you're going to do these sorts of things and whether or not you're going to do these things, you need to look at two things. One, what is the cost of the distribution? And two, what's the average lifetime value of the customer? Because even though you might make a sale from that transaction, it might make a loss-making sale, or it might be a sale that you make no money on. But if the lifetime value of the customer is more significant, for example, if the lifetime customer is $5,000, then you've got absolutely no problems spending on average $50 per person to acquire a customer. So if you acquire a customer at the cost of $100, $200, it's worth it for that $5,000 customer. So the more you can spend on acquisition, then the more $5,000 customers you're going to get. And the more $5,000 customers you get, then the more upline revenue and the more that you can advertise, and the cycle continues. So if I spend $1,000 on marketing and it costs me $100 to acquire each customer, then spending $1,000 gets me 10 customers. So if I'm spending $1,000 to get 10 customers and there's still profitability, then I could spend $20,000, $100,000, $1 million and still be better off. Now, the conversation is a little bit more nuanced than that. One, can you deliver on that many customers? Two, will the customer service degrade if you have that much volume in your pipeline? And three, sometimes the marketing return on investment is not linear. You might run out of a particular pool. If you live in a small town, you can't keep spending that money and expect to get more customers, particularly if you have a locally geographically constrained business. You are going to eventually run out of customers. So you need to think about expanding to other regions and areas. And remember that when you're doing your marketing, you can't just stop at one attempt to follow up. This is a relationship that you're building here. You don't get married on the first date. You have to go on several dates before they decide, yes, I think that there's a worthwhile match here and that we should take things further. So you need to achieve the same thing with your customers, but at scale. So you might send several marketing messages before anyone decides to make a decision. Same thing goes with email marketing. However, in the current age, we need to be careful with email marketing because you don't want to overdo it. Otherwise, you're going to end up unsubscribed, in the spam bucket, or If you're sending emails and they're not being opened, then your deliverability rates are going to go down. You also need to think about the sum total of information that one person is getting over a period of time. So if that person's getting bombarded with information and most of it is yours, that could be good, or it might actually be damaging. You need to be a little bit careful. So I would always try to think about creating content that is not overly packed with information. Heavy paragraphs, too much information in one go is too much. So instead of having a newsletter with 100 things that have happened in that month and letters from the editor and all that sort of stuff, I'd really just bring it down to one simple message. Try to only do one thing per email. Or if you've got a flyer, simple dot points. Grab attention, quickly skim them through what it is you provide, the benefits, the features, that sort of thing, and then get to the one thing that you want them to do. Don't go giving them 5 calls to action, just give them one. Now, all of this content is designed to get them to take an action. And that action, ideally, if they're unknown to you, as in you don't have their information, perhaps they're passively observing you online or from a shop window or something like that, you want to convert that into a semi-active relationship where they've provided you some information. So to get to that point, you need a landing page or a form or some way to capture information. So if you're at a trade conference, you might be write your details down on this piece of paper or into this iPad or something like that. Or if you are online, go to this landing page, fill out this form, get the free ebook, get the free download or the cheap $5 download, whatever it is. The point is the relationship really starts once you've captured that detail. Then you go into email sequence, then you go into SMS, then you go into picking up the phone and calling them or visiting them on site, depending on the value. Now, as you are sending people to these landing pages, you should be constantly testing, because improving your ads gets more people to your site. But then the next thing is you need to improve your conversion. So you might want to pass the link to the landing page around to a few people and ask them what they think. Ask them if they had any questions. Did they get stuck? Did they not understand anything? Is there any spelling mistakes? Then once they've done that, you might use the A/B editing tool in the software. So send people to the landing page and send 50% of the audience to variation A and the other 50% to variation B. And test small things on a regular basis. Is it better to have a blue button or a green button or a red button? Is it better to have a click here or learn more or buy now or join now? Which word works better with your audience? Now, unfortunately, you do need a little bit of volume. So ideally, you want to unblock the pipe as you go. So you might have to sort your ads out first. And then as you're getting traffic to your landing page, now you can start tweaking and improving. But I've heard of something like 70, 80, 90% better conversions with just the right things on the page. So constantly be testing your audience, constantly be asking your customers, what is it that you want to hear? What problem made it click for you? What made you decide to buy this service? Get testimonials, get video reviews, get all that sort of social proof and pump it into those landing pages, because that's what's going to help people make a decision. And remember that in all of this, you want to create a sense of what I like to call brand entanglement, where they're constantly tripping over the next thing in your business. So they've downloaded the ebook and then there's buttons to go to the website, or maybe there's a offer in the back page or something like that. They click there, they go to the web page, and then on the web page there's subscribe, then there's in the subscribe there's links back to the community or to the other landing page, and there's just another thing and another thing and another thing that keeps them involved in your brand. Maybe sign up here and get a free thing over there, or share our post and get this. Those sorts of things create a little bit of energy and activity around the brand that you don't have to create all the time. Sometimes by getting your customers to share or comment or like, it helps provide visibility to other people that might also be interested. Now, depending on the lifetime value of your customer, particularly if you have a much higher lifetime value, you need to kind of stand out. They're probably getting bombarded by a lot of things already. And in order to stand out, you need to do something different. Lumpy mail could be a really great way to do that. It could be sending a gift, or it could be sending a chocolate or something to eat, or it could be, for example, something creative. Maybe send a briefcase or a locked box and say, I will give you the code to what's inside if you book a meeting with me. Something like that. And maybe inside could be, I don't know, bottle of wine or a present or a gift card or a voucher or something attractive. I've even heard of people gifting laptops in order to get a meeting with a particular person. And if it's creative enough, it might work, particularly if the value of that deal, like if it's $1 million deal, a $1,000 laptop is pretty minimal if it's going to get you the right conversation. But you have to be very selective on who you give that to, because you don't want to go giving out $1,000 laptops to 50,000 people who are totally irrelevant to you. It's only when you have a very key targeted individual that you want to go and meet. So remember that direct marketing is really about your sales funnel. And a funnel is a little bit of a dirty word lately, but really it's about talking to a large amount to filter down to a slightly smaller amount, and then a smaller amount, and then a smaller amount, and getting the right person who's ready and interested and can afford to buy from you. So by going through that process, you need to talk to a large amount out at the top end, then filter down to those who are interested, to then filter down to those who've completed the landing page, to then filter down to those who made a purchase. So to grow the bottom number, you actually need to grow the top number and improve your process all the way through. So that way you have the greatest chance of having the most effective, valuable, worthwhile customers at the end of the day. So in order to determine your low value versus your high value customers, you really need to look at list segmentation. By breaking them down into perhaps the type of company or the role type or what region they're in, you can really start to target within your audience set which ones are going to be the best fit for which product. So you might sell your high-end product to your high-end customers and your low-end product to everybody, but at least you're giving a little bit more choice, or you're personalizing the message to each of those audience sets where they're more likely to respond. You might use a different language for audience A versus B, and that might be the differentiating factor as to whether they buy from you and whether or not they buy a small product or a large product. And remember that you need to follow up, and that following up is a multi-step, multi-channel process. So you might send the thing and then give them a call and then send them an email and then send them a text. The more channels you can jump across, the more spaced out and frequent or like regular contacts that you can make with these people, the more likely you are to get cut through. Don't just send lumpy mail and expect that someone's going to pick up the phone and say, "Where do I sign?" It just doesn't happen like that. If you're going to do direct outreach, for example, on the phone, then you need to be a little bit clever in how you approach it. Telemarketers have a really bad rap and constantly getting hung up on. So you need to come across with a very different approach without being kooky or weird. Just do something, maybe research the company beforehand, give them a call, and instead of asking arbitrary questions like, are you in this price bracket? Do you have this many staff? Do you have this much revenue? Ask them something personal. Like, how's your day going today? Get into a little bit of a conversation. Or maybe you might want to say something that is a little bit more specific. Have you heard of this? Or have you ever found that this is a challenge? That could be a way to qualify them without going into the strangeness of telemarketing approaches. I've seen people trying to do songs or that go through some acting script or something like that. It can be a lot of high energy and can really drain a person. So if you want to make the numbers and like smash the phones and make it really difficult, you could do that. And you can power dial and go through large numbers of contacts, but you're probably going to frustrate people, and generally it's unsolicited. I have a big red button that I love to push as soon as I get a telemarketer. So it's a whole animal, and I recommend you do a little bit more research before you just go down the telemarketing route, because otherwise you're just going to burn a whole bunch of contacts that probably didn't need to be burned. The same goes for door knocking. Sometimes it's better to create a conversation, ask a question, build some level of rapport before you go into the pitch, or before you discuss, have you had this trouble before? Do you often find that this is difficult? So going door to door, you can generally get a lot of doors slammed in your face or not answered. So you need to change the script a little bit. But again, you need to do this tastefully. People don't want to feel tricked. But if you can get someone talking, more than likely they'll give you enough time to maybe have a listen. Just don't go straight into the pitch. The sooner you do that, the more you're likely to put them on the back foot, their wall goes up, and they're not ready to listen to you. So be friendly, be approachable, relax, lean into it, you'll be fine. So remember that direct marketing is kind of the space before you've made, it's where people get to kind of view you from the outside based on the content or the interactions that they've had passively from a distance. So they might be getting to start to talk to you, but it's kind of the pre-engagement phase. This is what you're trying to get, is you're trying to get engagement. You're trying to get people to give you the download, give you their contact details, engage in a conversation with you. But this is the foray into someone else's world and grabbing their attention and then bringing them into your space where you can then have that conversation. So in order to do that effectively, you need a number of channels. It needs to be hyper specific in terms of the content needs to be relevant to the individual. You need to be targeting the right people. Otherwise, you're going to be wasting a lot of time and money on totally the wrong audience. So if I'm going to go to a networking event, I'm going to make sure that it's industry level for me personally. Small business networking is good, but they're not really a lot of my target market. Or sometimes it's a lot harder to find those bigger clients that I'd like to work with. I still like to go because people know people, and it's not always about the people that are right there in front of you. Sometimes you build those relationships and they know someone else and they will introduce you, which is a very positive way to get into a customer relationship because it's a warm introduction as opposed to a cold outreach, which is a lot harder. I do like mail outs. I think they can be very effective for the right type of product or service, particularly if there's a giveaway or a trial offer or something like that. It's also really easy and low cost, high volume. And by mail outs, I also mean email marketing. So by doing that effectively, you can directly market to your customers or future customers, and that will have a significant impact on the attention that comes to your business. So thank you for watching this lesson, and make sure you tune in to the next one.